All right, back with another video. Um, so far we're learning about functions. Well, not learning. Yeah, learning, discovering. I like the word discovering better. So we've discovered that we can in C++ we can create functions. Um, since this is so long, I'm kind of making a video for each part of it because I don't want to be making a really long video for functions. But yes, we've discovered functions. In the last video, we discovered the parameters of functions, and we had a little bit of fun with that. Inputting multiple different types into a function using parameters and arguments. In this case, we are going to move on. So the next section we deal with is default parameters. Default parameter values. You can also use default parameter values by using the equal sign, uh, which we know this sign not just by equals. So this is another one of those kind of things where it has two different meanings, multiple meanings to it now. It says it's the equal sign, but we know it as the assignment operator. If we call the function without an argument, it uses the default value Norway. It has a default value to it. Wow, that's something to discover right there. So, we have an example right here. Let's go ahead and make our adjustments to this. Let me clean up all this comments down below here. Clean up this comment right here. We don't need this. We also don't need this in here. We'll keep that just the way that is. We're still going to use the same function, same type of function with the same name. We're going to change this back from this to standard string and change this, our variable name, to country. Get rid of that, get rid of this second argument here. And give it an actual value inside the parameter. So the statement that if we call the function without an argument, it uses the default value Norway. Okay, so the parameter of a function actually does not have a default value. You have to set the default value yourself. And that's what we were doing in this case. We created a type string, variable name, country, and its default value, if we don't declare one, is going to be Norway. Put whatever you want in there. It doesn't have to be Norway, it can be anything you want. So we need to adjust our output here because we no longer have this right here and there. We no longer need the space in there. We can come clear back to here. Okay, so we do need that space in there. We are going to adjust this to our new variable, country. We are going to keep the new line in there. That way, if it prints up more, we can. We need to also change out these arguments right here. I'm only going to use 3 where the example actually has 4 in it, but pretty much print out whatever you want. Now, this is actually, so the variable name is reflecting pretty much the value itself, whatever the value is. So if you want to declare your own country, that's perfectly fine by me, but yeah. So we have different countries. I am not actually, I'm going to use something else, something I'm more familiar with. I am actually from the US, so I'm going to use something like a U.S. state. And then I'm going to change this from country to state. So I'm not following an example precisely. I'm adjusting it for something I can more easily describe. I do know about different countries and stuff, but I'm not going to use countries in there. I'm going to use state instead. It's just simpler for me. You can use whatever you want in these. So In this first one right here, let's go with this state. Many people are familiar with New York, so we'll go with New York. I almost forgot how to spell it there for a second. The second one we're going to keep empty. The third one we're going to go ahead and put, let's put Florida in. If I spelled that right. I can. Let's put Ohio in. I know how to spell that one very easily. Wasn't sure if I was spelling Florida properly. The names and stuff aren't on my mind. It's how this is working right now. So we currently have New York for one, Ohio for another one, and we don't have anything set for this one. Now we stated before and stuff it has to have something in it. But with the way we got our parameters set up, we have a default. So if we don't have something in it, it prints up that instead. For example, let's go ahead and save the code and run it. So the first one is New York. It prints out. The second one, a U.S. state as our default since we don't have an argument in there. And the third one, Ohio. This is really helpful if you are missing something out of one. If, for instance, you do have multiple people you're wanting to list off, and you maybe know, let's say you have 5 people, you know their first and last names too, except for maybe one. You don't know what their last name is. Okay. Um, so we'll make some adjustments here to this. First name, and then for this argument, we'll have uh, first name. And then we're going to create another argument, the second argument. So it's going to be standard again, string, and this is going to run off my screen, but that's fine. Last name is going to be the variable name, and then we're going to set the default value to last name. Okay, so we got now kind of a long parameter right there, as you can see. We got 2 strings in there. We got the variables for each one of them, first name and last name, and we got the first name and last name for as the defaults. So now we need to adjust our output here, f name, and then a space, yep, and then last name. Okay. So, and we have 3 different people here. I said 5 before, that's fine. We're gonna have 3 different people here. We're gonna do the John Doe thing again, so we know out of the 3 different people, we know one person's last name, but not their first name, and we know another person's first name, but not their last name. So we know John, but we don't know his last name. We know, we're going to put a comma right there because we don't know the first name, but we do know the last name, Doe. And then the last person, we're going to put, again, Timmy Joe, or Timmy Glue. All right, do we have any issues here? We have one right here. I think we're going to end up with one right there too. How would we, so now I got a little kind of think here and stuff because we need the first one to come up as default. How would we do that with this right here? Normally we would put a comma in there. Let's see if we put a space in there and see if it gives us something for that. No, it's still showing us an error right here. Expecting an expression or an argument, yes. Let's go ahead and save it and see what it does. I don't think it's going to work right, and it doesn't. So How would we do that? It doesn't know what that is, but we need a space in here and stuff. Let's see here. We got this right here. I know what's going to happen right here if we save this and run this. We're going to get John as the first and then a last name for both. We don't know what the first name is for one person, no, but we don't know how to adjust that for that. So we got two parameters in here, and it doesn't really tell us how to do that. It just tells us how to do it with one word. It doesn't tell us how to do it if you don't know the person's first name. So that's going to be maybe a question for later on. Maybe you can find out how to do something like that. When you have two parameters in here, you're setting both of them with a default. You don't know what the first person's name is or something like that, or whatever, but you know the last name. Obviously, John is going to work just fine and stuff for the first one. For the second one, it's going to use the default. We got something in for both of them on this one right here, but so we're going to have to use, I cannot remember how to do that, if I even learned ever yet, but I'm sitting here trying to think. Maybe if I put in quotes there and then put a comma afterwards and then finish off the quote for the dough, put a space in there to separate it. Maybe that'll work. Let's see what comes up here. Nope, it just gives us dough and nothing, a space there. So that does not work either. So for now, I know it's possible to do the defaults. That's the biggest thing right there, was discovering the you can put in a value for a default if you want to up here in the parameter. We can put in Joe right there and it'll use the default for his last name. We can put in the full name right there. Trying to get that first default value though to print may be a little bit more difficult, because I'm not exactly sure how to do that. So maybe we'll learn that later on. Clear the terminal out and keep moving forward. A parameter with a default value is often known as an optional parameter. From the example above, country is the optional parameter and Norway is a default value. But like I said, it doesn't, if we have multiple ones in there and we're using a default value for multiple ones, it doesn't really tell us how to get the first default to set. And you may not be able to, I don't know. And I can't remember off the top of my head on how to get that to work. So, something else I gotta learn about this. Let's go ahead and move on. But yes, we know about defaults now. So far in functions, in this section, we've learned about functions, but the only one we learned about so far is void. We learned about the name of the function right here. Um, we learned about using the body right here, definition, to get it to print out. We've learned about calling functions and setting arguments for those. We've learned about the parameters of functions right here. Um, so yeah, we are learning quite a bit right here just in this alone. Um, next video and stuff we come back to, we'll do multiple parameters, uh, which we've kind of already done that, so we may end up just skipping this one. In fact, I got plenty of time on this. We'll go ahead and go through this real quick, because we've already been using multiple parameters. So we kind of jumped ahead on that one. So multiple parameters. Inside a function, you can add as many parameters as you want. Yes, we've already done that. It gives us an example here. And it even gives us different types to use for the multiple parameters. Note that when you are working with multiple parameters, the function call must have the same number of arguments as there are parameters. And we just learned that that was not true. It doesn't have to. As long as you have a default set and stuff, you don't have to have the same amount. If you don't have a default set for it, then you do have to have the same amount. Otherwise, it'll create an error. And also, it's not telling us if we have multiple set with a default in the first one, how to get that one to go off. So uh, this way I don't actually have to make a video of that, because I can just run through that real quick since we've already been doing that. So let's move on to the next section right here, the return keyword. Now this one right here and stuff I'll probably will put in the next video, because we've already been doing two parameters. So I think that'll be it for this video. If you like the video, hit the like button. If Anything you want to add, put it in the comments. We got more to go with functions right there. If there's anything I said that was wrong, you're welcome to put a comment in there to correct what I've said. Something about if you want to add anything to this, that's fine. We're not done with functions yet. We still got 5 more sections to go. Even the last one's just only going to be real life examples. So for now, that'll be it for this, and I will make another video here soon for the return keyword. So until next time.